guys, be Bannany. This is obviously on the Max Running channel. Haven't uploaded in a while. This is kind of me just spitballing, but I assume that because it's a gaming channel, kind of have a bit of background. So, basically, I am focusing mostly on my main channel, Bannany, but I might post from here from time to time. But the only other problem to that is I have a lot of trouble with technology. Young or not, I have a lot of trouble with it, and I could barely even get a podcast started, which is actually also pertaining to this podcast, that I am actually trying to make my own podcast on my main vlog channel, that is. It's mainly just going to be debating, but also a lot of discussion, a lot of religion, free will, historical things, a lot of philosophy and literature, more sort of things. I actually just recently uploaded one like a day or two ago, depending on when I'm uploading this. It was a long video, obviously unedited, like I said, because I'm very technologically ignorant or incoherent, whatever the word is. But I think it was actually a decent video. Obviously, it was my first try at a podcast with a friend. Well, I've done it with friends, but I mean, I want to say more serious, even though it was very informal. We did pretty well, I think. We debated our points very well. We weren't debating, actually. We were debating against others. But besides that point, it actually went pretty well. But I digress, because it was about free will, religion, life over life, what makes one life more important than another, not even just human, animal life too. Oh, I'm not a killer guy, sorry. Anyway, basically, that's what my main channel is going to be about. I also posted an audiobook recording. It was The Sun by Lois Lowry. It's actually a really good book, besides the ending. The ending was terrible. You should go check it out yourself if you want. It doesn't have to be my audio or book recording, but from online, it was the only one I could actually find, which was odd to me. Very odd. So I made it myself, because I don't like reading books normally if there's not an audio book with it, because I have trouble reading. A lot of trouble. Like, I read like half the pace of a normal person if I don't have an audiobook reading. And if I'm just listening to an audiobook, my doctors think I have CAPD, which is basically just it stands for Central Auditory Processing Disorder, which means I hear things that weren't actually there. Not like schizo, but I mean, like, if you said to me, "Hey, how's your day going?" I would hear, "Hey," or "Hi, how are you?" Which is similar. It's a similar sentence, but it's not the same sentence. And it gets in the way a lot, especially if I have a lot of sound going on around me. So if I hear like a fan going off, or I hear a static in the background, it ticks it off, kind of. That's the idea, at least what I think I have so far. Getting me tested soon, but that's besides the point. This is more of like an update video as well, but you get the point. So, long story short, if someone whispers to me especially, I hear like 1 out of every 9 words, like correctly, that is. Sometimes I don't even hear words at all because it just sounds like whispering to me. But I do try, and it gets very annoying for people in my life, but they'll live. They'll live. They'll figure it out. I love them enough, they'll figure it out. Anyway. Oh god, sorry. Basically, I just personally think that I don't game as much as I used to, but when I do game, it's usually with like a friend or on my own, just to, pass the time. So, because of that, I don't think it's really necessary for me making as many gaming videos. I can do so many other things on here too, like painting or drawing. I think that would fall more into a vlog type of thing, So, I might start to stay away from that sort of thing. I'm not sure. But I'm sorry. Try not to die, but I'm going to anyway in about 5 seconds. Guess not. Need another 5. See if I die. Okay, just gonna run. Okay, it didn't work. Anyway. This channel, I think it's been like a year or so, maybe, since I've uploaded. I haven't been counting. I haven't checked my last video in a while, but it feels like that. You know, and that's not a good thing to not, you know, it's not a good thing to be neglecting your channel. Especially when I still promote it as well. Like, why are you promoting something that's like 10 years old and, you know, more relevant? It's like me promoting MySpace right now, you know, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But maybe I'll try uploading a little more on here. There's not much for me to be doing. I can go on Minecraft and maybe build something, or play some more games, because I don't play video games as much as I used to. I've been reading the Bible a lot more. I'm not religious, I'm agnostic, basically, is my way of saying, that I have no clue what in the world is, if there is a God or not, or any sort of, you know, supernatural being. But I do think that it's possible there is one, and I think it's possible there isn't one. So it's more of like it's like a middle ground, like a neutral party sort of belief. If you had asked me, I'd lean more towards atheism, but I could see how there still might be a God. I was raised religious when I was young. I just believed it because I was told to believe it. Didn't really have much else belief besides that, and I was very, very much scared of many like religious things, like angels. That scared me. Jesus kind of scared me as well, because when I was really young, I thought I'd heard him, because I was in my bed, twin bed that I share with my brother, like a bunk bed. And I heard my name call from the stairs. Wasn't my mom, wasn't my dad. Brother was sleeping, and some people say, "Oh, you saw him," or "Oh, you're hallucinating." It really depends on what you want to believe in. You know, theists would probably say, "Oh, yeah, you saw him," or whatever it may be. Atheist, or like someone who believes in a different religion, you're probably hallucinating. Or, "Oh, it was this person instead of what you thought it was." The guy didn't say, "Oh, I'm Jesus," but that's besides the point. Yeah, maybe I have ADHD. Anyway, basically, I'm focusing more on the Bible. I've gone from Genesis, obviously, because that's the start of the Bible. At least Old Testament, that is. Gotten to Old Testament. Sorry, not finished Old Testament, but I've somewhere in the Old Testament is what I'm saying. Basically, I'm trying to read it all. Got to Genesis, like I said, and I finished up to Samuel 1, and I'm on Samuel 2. So, not a lot of progress. I think that's like a quarter of the Bible, maybe even less. But it's a start. Hopefully I'll get like at least 2/3 of it done by the end of the summer. I got months ahead of me though, so I've only been reading for about a month, and I got 25% done. So I think getting 2/3 of it done is, or at least hopefully getting close to the end of the Old Testament. I think the Old Testament is about 900 chapters. New Testament is about 200 chapters, give or take. Same as the Old Testament. Like give or take, that is. But I'm dead. I have had a lot of difficulty with it. Obviously, I've heard so many different like interpretations of it that it just like I don't know what to say about it, because it can't be up for my own interpretation. Because if I read Harry Potter and I say, "Oh, Harry Potter was the bad guy," I mean, it's an opinion, but it doesn't mean it's true at all. Any sort of word. Like, I read Harry Potter, but you get the point. Basically, I'm just saying, I don't know where they want, because when I say they, I mean people like Christians and Jews and such. Well, Jews are Old Testament, but Christians, I should say, where they want me to be drawing this line, because I have not a clue. It doesn't make sense for me to draw a line somewhere when I have no clue what lines have already been drawn, or how they draw lines, because I'm not going to draw a line on my own and say, "Oh, when they said this guy did this, I don't want to believe that," because it doesn't make sense to me. I could say the same about Jesus' resurrection and say, "Oh, it doesn't make sense to me. It was obviously a mythical story." I have no proof for that. And my guess is they most likely don't have proof that it was or wasn't. I mean, maybe they do. But for most stories, I don't think there's a lot of witness account testimonies that you can find Like I think they said, for example, this is just me popping one off the top of my head. They had said that Jesus appeared or above 500 people. See, again, there's interpretations even that itself, because people believe that, they meant not above, but they meant like greater than 500, so more than 500 people who saw him. Some people also take it as, it can also mean above or greater than, but specifically the word above. So maybe they meant he was up in the sky. And there's so many different ways of looking at it that it's like, okay, well, if he was above 500 people, did every single of those 500 say, I saw him? Or were they, like, why were they grouped up? Why was there just 500 grouped up? They say, you're going to see Jesus in 15 minutes from now. So everyone gather up. Was there a group gathering already before? Is there actual documented testimony account of this, or is it just what the author of that part of the Bible? I forgot who. Pardon my memory, but basically they're like, how do we know that's accurate? Not saying the guy was lying. Okay, I think it was Paul, I want to say, but I might be wrong. Maybe Peter. I think it was Paul, though. Basically, if you take it as just like any other historical source, how do we know they're not lying? Like, how do we prove that for them? How do we prove it to be true? It's kind of hard to, very hard. So basically, it's hard to take that for account. Now, that's the interpretation. Maybe they meant, not actually 500 people. It was a decent many people. But, at least from what I've heard, might I say, this is supposed to be on topic. They say that many numbers in the Bible, for example, 3, 7, 40, they are not actually meant to be 3, 7, and 40. It's just to be like numbers that represent a lot. Like if I say, I had 1,000 donuts for dessert today or something like that, I didn't actually have 1,000. I had probably, 5 or something, 4 or 5, and that's a lot of donuts. But I'm exaggerating. Or it's like they had tens of thousands of men, and it wasn't really. It was like maybe 8,000, but it seemed like a lot more to them at the time. It's an exaggeration. Like the numbers represent something. 3 is a small amount of time. 7 is a much greater amount of time, like a medium amount of time, but still kind of long. 7 days, 7 nights. 7 days. Oh god, now I'm forgetting all the time to use 7. I think it was the Sabbath on the 7th day. A lot of beliefs fall, not beliefs, sorry. Like ritualistic things are on 3 or 7 days. Noah's Ark, 40 days, 40 nights. I think there's a lot of, you could look up literally just 40 in any Bible, and you'll see a lot of different examples of such. 3 was a smaller amount of time, 7 was a decent amount of time, and 40 was a much longer amount of time. So if they say, for 40 days, 40 nights, it may not have actually been 40 days, 40 nights. It may have just been a long time. Maybe more, or maybe less than 40, but if you're stuck in sea for 30 days, that's a long time. But maybe not 40, but still a lot. Also, on top of that, they have a lot of other stories. For example, I don't remember what book this is in. I want to say either Genesis or Exodus. Lot, his wife, when they were leaving their town, or city, when they were leaving, God said to not look back. Lot's wife did. She was turned into a pillar of salt for it. Whether that was genuinely what happened, or if it was an exaggeration, whatever it is that means, to be turned into a pillar of salt, well, that was what the Bible says. Now, again, whether or not that story is believed by Christians is up to the interpretation of each Christian, apparently. And so it is for many books, okay? Any book with a cliffhanger or anything, they will have their own interpretation of it. I don't think that it makes each interpretation correct, but it does make for a odd way of looking at things, I'd say. I should not have done that. I killed him. Which is what makes it very difficult for me to read and genuinely take a look at these. Because if you think about it, if I read, if it said, this is just me making it up, but if it said, Jesus said you are my daughter to marry or something, which obviously isn't true. She is his mother, virgin's mother as well. If he said that to her, how am I to take that literally? Would he have been saying it literally? Would he have meant it in a metaphorical sense, as in like I take care of you like you're my daughter, even if you're not? Like, this obviously didn't happen in the Bible, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm just making this up as an example. How do I know to take that literally? How do I know to take that, metaphorically or symbolically, whatever it is? I don't see where people draw the lines. And I was in a chat with someone earlier today about something about where do I draw the line, and they said use context clues. I haven't seen a way to use context clues. Maybe this is just my experience, but I haven't seen a way to find context clues to tell me is this fake or real. And by the way, using context clues does not tell you whether or not something is real or not, unless it says, oh, he magically did this, and you assume magic is not real. Because there are so many instances in the Bible where things that you would assume are not real are real. I just read in 1 Samuel. Yeah, I think it was either 1st or 2nd Samuel, that there are psychic mediums. I didn't know those were biblically accurate, like the biblically, like canon, I guess, is the word. But how was I supposed to know if that's literally a psychic medium, or if it was like a dream someone had of a psychic medium telling them? I don't know. And a lot of prophecies and such in the Bible are from people in their dreams, usually holy people. I don't know if I'm using that term right, but like people of God that are like close with God, like Saul or Samuel. Usually it's them who have all these dreams, not necessarily like just some random dude. Sometimes there is, I think, but again, how was I supposed to know that those are real? Are they biblically accurate? Does every Christian admit that they exist? Or are they taking it as a metaphorical stance? I really don't know. So, besides that, back on to the original point. Other things I do. I've been reading. I have been getting into a lot more of psychology recently. More of like a self-help sort of thing. But I will say that I would try to put into words. I would say that psychology is fun when you learn about how the human brain works, but when you really start using what you've learned and noticing it on yourself, it's a really big eye-opener. Like any sort of habit in the past that you've done that people call you out on, there, like 9 times out of 10, there's a reason for it. It might not always be apparent, but there is always a reason. Okay, because every reason, everything has a reason. That's just my belief. Whether or not it's a good reason, there is a reason. But anyway. Yeah, so psychology is nice. I've been getting into poetry a little more as well. But on top of just that, I've also been writing my own book. Obviously I haven't been finishing it. It's not meant to be like I'm going to publicize it sort of thing. But I have been writing poetry, my own book, which I called it Perditus Amor, which is Latin for lost love. Because it's basically like a murder romance thing. I don't know. It's not meant to be romantic, but it's, about love. Kind of in the name, But that's what I've been doing. Been hanging out with my friends, obviously doing math as well. And, pretty much it. I've been a lot of philosophy, obviously. Quotes, which is basically just philosophy. So that's usually what it is anyway. But, yeah. Life has been life, so not gonna take it any more or less than what it is. But I'm stuck with this gun. Anyway. But, I'm not sure what games I'm going to post. There's like a handful or 2 of games that I actually play on Roblox. And on Minecraft, it's like the same server, just different games, which is not many. Mostly they're all with my brother. That's upsetting. Anyway, basically, I am focusing mainly on my vlog channel, Danny Bannany, that is. I say I'm Danny Bannany when I open the video, because this was, I should say, meant to be my brother's channel. He has his own channel. I'm not sure, he hasn't really told me because he's gatekeeping it. He has one that I made for him, because he was more into games than he was about the vlog stuff. So I said, oh, okay, I'll make a channel for you. And that's why it's named after him. His name is Max. I made it called Maxaroni. So, because of such, I said, okay, well, you could do this while I do the vlog stuff, because I know you don't like this stuff, the vlog stuff as much. He didn't upload. I think he's maybe done 3 to 5 videos, and I've done the rest, and there's like 117 videos as I'm making this, give or take, something like that. So I would venture to say that he does not want this channel. So, which is fine. I'm not going to force it upon him. But I definitely wish I didn't neglect it as much as I did. This doesn't get as many views as my main channel does, but it still deserves some love from me, even if it's not much. So, might post more on here. Maybe it'll be like an update sort of thing. Maybe it'll be you guys say something in the comments for me, and I'll respond. Like a FAQ, facts and questions sort of thing. But I've been watching a lot of podcasts about religion as well. Back to religion thing, that is. Specifically Alex O'Connor. Lovely guy. Love his videos. Sorry, one second, I'm gonna lock in. Oh, never mind. Alright. Watched a lot of videos of his. He had a video where someone had said that maybe Jesus didn't actually, was not actually resurrected. Apparently there's this guy in the Bible, which I haven't gotten to because, again, I haven't read the New Testament, named Thomas. Thomas. I think it's Thomas, yeah. Basically, Thomas in Greek, I want to say. No, maybe Toma in Greek. No, it's definitely Toma, I think it is. In either Greek or Aramaic, it means twin. Because Toma means twin. Toma, Thomas, Thomas sort of thing, you know. And in Greek or Aramaic, I forget which is which, they actually called him, I think it's Dionysus. Maybe it's Dionysus. I have to actually check on that one. But, basically, they call him twin a lot, which is fine. But they also said in the Bible, one second, let me look. I forget, I can't find it. But basically, it was like Dionysus, something like that. Basically, it was like Greek or Aramaic for twin. In the Bible, there was actually a thing where I believe it was a gardener, I want to say, mistook Jesus for Thomas while he was talking to Mary in the Bible, something like that, because of how similar they looked, I guess. So I guess the theory what they were saying was when Jesus died, some like tomb raider, grave digger, whatever you want to call him, took Jesus' body, even though people say it was guarded by Roman soldiers. You never know. They said it was some people say it was most likely not true that he was just thrown in a hole in the ground, and that he was actually most likely given an actual tomb. But they were saying that Thomas, when Jesus died, he came back, Thomas that is, and pretended to be Jesus, and then he left, I guess. I really don't know. It interesting to think about, but I don't know how true it actually is. So, it's just an interesting thing. I think it was Bart Ehrman, maybe, I think it was Bart Ehrman who said, I might be wrong on that, but it was on Alex O'Connor's podcast. Same thing as, I don't believe there's free will. Same reasons as Alex O'Connor has, just, basically, long story short, you can't, I think that your want to control everything everything you do is based on your wants, or because you're forced to, or because it's random, meaning you have no control over it. If it's random, obviously you have no control over it. It's random. If it's forced, you had no control in it. You were forced to do it. If it's via your wants, you say, oh, obviously that's free will because I chose to do it. But can you choose your wants? That's my question. Can you actually choose to want something? And most people would say, maybe I could. Yeah, I probably could. But I don't think you're actually really choosing now. Because if you think about it, let's say you go to an ice cream store and you say, oh, I want chocolate over vanilla, or whatever it may be. If you go there, you want chocolate over vanilla, can you convince yourself to want vanilla over chocolate then? Maybe, but if you do, you'd still want to convince yourself. Another thing is, you can also say that this is obviously a much more extreme scenario, but it does still prove the point. Hopefully you have a good relationship with your mother. I'm assuming right now you do not want to kill your mother. That's just, common thing people don't want to do. So, because you don't want to kill your mother, right now I want you to convince yourself to want to kill her. Obviously, I'm assuming you don't want to do that, because you can't force your wants. I think it was Schopenhauer, maybe. I think it was Schopenhauer who said it. He said, you can want what you will, but you can't will what you want. Basically meaning you can, want to be able to control things, but no, you can want to have things, but you can't control what it is you want. Something like that, basically. Which is kind of the whole argument against free will. You also can't have, what's it called? You can't have free will because of, you can't, basically, even in, like, scenarios where you say, oh, shit, pardon me. Even in scenarios when you may say something stupid, sorry, not stupid, I don't know why I'm saying that, I'm just focusing on the game a little more. Basically, if you, say, well, what if I would rather do something that I don't actually want to do over something that obviously much likely, would fit my desires more? Like, would I rather go to the gym, or would I rather stay home and eat junk food? I mean, most people are going to say, oh, I'd probably want to stay home and eat junk food, but I still go to the gym. Then your desires aren't really to want to, stay home and eat junk food. Your desire to go to the gym and be healthy or be fit or not fall into whatever it may be, determination. Your devotion to it and your want to stay devoted is stronger than your will or your want to stay home and eat junk food. It's just one want over another. And I think the chances are, even if your wants are perfectly split between 2 or 3, whatever it may be, I still think you can want something more. Because I don't think you're going to have a perfect split ever. And if you choose something, it's because you wanted to choose something, or because you were forced to, or because you randomly chose. Like, if you put a die for 6 decisions, and whenever it rolls a 5, you get a 5th one. That's not, it was your want to use a die, but it wasn't your choice to do the 5th one. It was what the die came up with. Now, obviously, you could have re-rolled if you wanted something else, potentially. You could have also just said, no, I'd rather do the second option. But if you chose to do the die, it's complete random chance then. Unless you're like a master gambler, when you're playing crabs or something. But it was out of your control. Also, I just personally think that even in a religious sense, I don't see how God can have given us free will. Being that he is omniscient, meaning all-knowing, all-powerful, omnipotent, meaning he's all-powerful, omnibenevolent, meaning all good, and omnipresent, meaning present everywhere. A lot of these are in the name. But anyway, what the hell? Sorry. I don't think it's still possible, because I think the main problem is God being all powerful, all knowing. I don't think Him knowing means that we have free will. He gives an illusion of free will, yeah, but I don't think we actually have free will. Because think about it. Let's say, even in the case, because, actually, let me just start with the example first. Sorry, I'm getting off track a lot. Anything you do right now, or ever going to do, He already knows. He knows you're going to do that. Which, I feel as if you know everything someone's going to do tomorrow, they might still feel like they're doing something based on their own choices, which they may as well be. But it doesn't actually. If you had a list in front of you of every single thing you were going to do, and as you go down the list, it was down to the last minute detail about what it is you were actually going to do, you would feel like you were like living in a simulation, like you weren't actually free or something. And even though you don't have that list right now, if God exists, then He has that little list, the mental note list, obviously, but He knows all. He knows everything you're going to do, everything you've thought about doing, etc. And I think because of that, even though in that moment you are choosing it, I don't really think it seems as if you're it. That seems very contradicting when I say it like that, but which is why the other point a lot of people say is that foreknowledge doesn't necessitate causation. Basically, as in, their most examples that I've seen is they say, oops, sorry, their biggest example from what I've seen, or at least most common, is that they say, sorry, basically, if you watch a football game after it's already been recorded, and you watch it like an hour later, and you rewatch it again another hour later, right? Obviously, every time you watch the video, you already know what they're going to do. In that moment that they did it, does that mean that they didn't have free will when they chose those actions, assuming that they had free will while they were doing it? No. They had free will in the moment, but you rewatching it and knowing what they're going to do doesn't mean that it changes them having free will. And they say the same argument with God. But I feel like that's just due to our constraint of time. If I watch something in the past, then I already know what's going to happen if I've already seen it, because that's just how our time works. But God is outside of time. And if they say He's a higher dimensional being, fourth dimension or beyond, He sees time as all one block singularly. And He sees all of time at once. So the time you were a baby to the time you are now, and the time you will be when you die, and the time when your ashes, and disintegrate and all that. He sees all of that at once. Kind of like between a string. Every single point, I should say, on that line is, let's see, every single point on that line would be a zeroth dimensional world. So you're seeing an infinite amount of those worlds. So you're seeing all those worlds at once. You're seeing the entire world as it is in one single point. Now, obviously, that would be in a single point as well, but think of it as every time you see a piece of paper, you're seeing every one-dimensional line on that piece of paper. That infinite amount of pieces of lines on that piece of paper. You're seeing them. Same idea with a fourth dimensional being, or a higher dimensional being would be able to see us in that way. Sorry, some guys being nostalgic. Not a problem. But anyway, I think because of that, He knows everything we're going to do and have done and could ever do. Because again, all-knowing and all-powerful. So, because He's all-powerful and He created us, He actualized, I think the term is, He actualized a world where we do event A instead of event B, out of the infinite amount of options. He knowingly made a world where we were going to do that. So he, in a way, made a world forcing us into a hand that we were going to be forced to play. Because he knew we were going to do. So, even though I know foreknowledge doesn't necessitate free will. Because foreknowledge means it happened before. So I don't think that football game, analogy really applies to foreknowledge. Because he knew it before it actually happened. We, on the other hand, watched it as it was happening, and then rewatched it after. But he sees it all at once. So I don't think it applies. That's just me, though. So, wow, oh my god, sorry. Dude has 4,000 kills in the chat. Holy donk of crapper stuff. You know what I mean? Anyway. I think it's just kind of crazy. That, sorry. I think it's just kind of odd. I don't think there's a way that it would make sense. Plus, on top of that, if what I'm saying is true, that would create so many more problems. Because if then, every bad thing we've ever done was created and determined to happen no matter what by God. Which means every sin ever committed, and also every good thing that's ever been done, was done by God forcing our hand. Because that's the world he chose to actualize, or create, whatever the term is. That would mean, also, that if you are an atheist or an agnostic like myself, and the chances of you being saved, and whether or not you will be saved, would be because of God. Basically. Because of such a problem like that. I think this is a Calvinistic argument, if I'm correct in my terms again. Calvinists believe that there is nothing you can do. You have already been written down, basically, like whether or not you're going to be saved, and nothing you do will save you from that. I think they still want you to be good people. I really haven't looked that far into it, but apparently Calvinism is like a religious determinism, predeterminism. And I think it's odd, very odd. Alright, that was an AK. That a God would want us for that. And many paradoxes about God's omniscience, or not necessarily a paradox for omniscience, but a paradox for omnipotence is flawed, I'd say, because of the paradox itself. Paradoxes, by definition, really can't exist because they are a contradiction of two things that just could not happen. They're impossible for a reason. So, the stone paradox by God, or sorry, not by God, of God, that basically says, if God can create a stone in which he cannot lift, sorry, no, if you ask God to make a stone in which he can't lift, and he lifts a stone, he can't make a stone in which he cannot lift. If God can lift a stone, that means God cannot make a stone in which he cannot lift. And if he can't lift the stone, then he can't lift all stones. Which means that no matter what, there is some way of him not being able to do something. I think the fact that this is sort of flawed is because paradoxes themselves cannot exist. So I think it would make more sense to say all-powerful means doing all logical things. So you can't have a married bachelor, or a road, the end of a road that goes on for forever. That doesn't exist. There can't be an end to something that doesn't end. Those sort of things are impossible. So because of that, I would beg to differ, that God can be all-powerful in the sense of what they say, but I think the definition has to be a little bit more tuned. So, I think the definition they had was actually pretty good. At least my definition was. There might be still inconsistencies with it, but I think it's a less vague interpretation. Anyway, that means before God has even made you, because he's making you, he knows all of what will happen to you. Like your Like if you're rolling dice on a character in a board game you're playing, you don't know as it's being rolled what they're gonna do. But before that character has even, been played yet, there's already you're making their story for them. Obviously, as you go, the character did not, if the character was alive, that is, did not know that all those decisions and choices of them were made before they were even born, to think it was due to luck or them or whatever it may be. But no, you roll those dice, you now know what was going to happen to them. This is just in the case of what they are like. Like, oh, they have 25 strength and 15 charisma, whatever it is. You chose that. Or more of, in a way you chose that. You let the dice go up to random, but if you were creating your character on your own, no dice at all, I feel like that's a bit more of a problem, if anything. Because, I'm forgetting what I'm saying, I was zoning in on the game, sorry. Basically, long story short, God knew everything you were going to do. Every time you sinned, He actualized that. He created it to be like that. Because He's all-knowing and all-powerful, so He did that. Which means that, in a Calvinistic way, if you still believe in a God that's all-powerful, all-knowing, etc., that you are already predetermined to either go to hell or heaven. Which is not a good thing, if you think about it. Because that means no matter how good or bad you are, it's already been determined. But the funny thing is, I still think, at least I'm thinking as of now, that maybe there's a way for you to up your chances, even though it's already been set. Maybe you still valiantly fighting for your chance to get into heaven instead of in hell is what has already predetermined it. Okay, because now that's the whole paradox of time itself anyway. If you know you're going to go to hell, then chances are, guess what? You're not going to try to not go to hell. Because, at least some people, that is, will not try to be not going to hell anymore because they know it's in vain. There's no way they can get out of going to hell. Right? So because of that, they're not going to be good people most of the time. And then if you say, oh, I'm going to heaven no matter what, oh, perfect. I'm not going to, I could also be bad too. I don't need to, I already know where I'm going anyway, so it doesn't matter. And if that is going to be true no matter what, then you're going to heaven. But maybe, if you knew you were going to heaven, it was because of something. Even if you act terribly, you know that information has to be true. Which is why that's a sort of a time paradox there. That's why you shouldn't know things. Like if you know what was going to happen, you might find a way to prevent it, which messes, time, whatever it is. Basically, I think even if you knew where you were going, assume in a Calvinistic way, because you're not going to actually know, assume you are going to hell. Right? Assume you are going to hell, because then that way, you will do your best, hopefully, to try to change that outcome. Because you don't know that outcome. It might be hell, it might be heaven. I think your best bet is to pretend as if you were trying your best to go to heaven still. Because maybe, because of all of what you've done, you are already going. Your little card or whatever it is will say you're going to heaven because of that. So, I don't know, that's just my opinion. Your fate's already done, so if you know your fate, then I don't really know what you want me to do about it, or what anyone can really do about that. I feel like God's your only hope there. Anyway. Same with a lot of atheists, like Buddhists. They're atheists, I believe. They believe in like a spiritual thing, but not like a divine being. Don't quote me on that. I think it's Buddhism. I think Hinduism is the three gods, like Vishnu. No, that's not true. I have no clue what the words are. I think one of them is V, one's a B, and then one of them is like a J, K or something. Maybe K, I think. Basically, what I'm going to say is this. I've said a lot of things already. I don't know why I'm saying it like it's the most important thing. Anyway. Oh. Anyway, sorry. Pardon me. I just don't think free will can exist. Now, to the life over life thing, my argument, I would say against it, that there is an objective reason for why one life is more important than another. One objective reason. Maybe the reasons when they go together are a more objective way. But I don't think there's an objective way. If you say many reasons, there's a lot of reasons why people may say, but if you say size, oh, I'm bigger than you, so I'm more important than you. Most people would say that an elephant isn't more important than a human. And by the way, objective means true no matter what. Like in any scenario, this holds true. So that's why I'm saying, like, just one small example, even though ironically I'm talking about size. Anyway, if you say, oh, it's because I'm bigger than you, that's an odd way of doing it. It's just stupid. Volume, size, height, length, whatever. It's a stupid way of saying I'm better than you, I'm more important than you because of it. Most people say an elephant is more important than an ant, but I don't think that's just due to size. I think there must be another reason for it. This is terrible. This is a revolver. Anyway, size doesn't make sense. Then people say complexity. Complexity would mean, oh, a human is more important than a bacterium because humans are much more complex. Obviously, that would mean that would have to take into account how you measure complexity. Let's say it means, organization of systems and such, which is usually what complexity is anyway, but that was weird. What the hell? Sorry. Basically, that doesn't make a lot of sense either right now, because an octopus, in some ways, no, I wouldn't even say that. I would say complexity could be your puppy dog over a virus. One little virus, strain of a virus. Obviously, your dog is much more complex. But if you go based off of importance, which would be, for example, your dog is important to you, yes. But objectively, your dog to the society is going to be less important than that virus is, because in this scenario, I'm going to say, that virus is the reason why we have much more medical advancements, because it's like a big old, viral infection or whatever the hell that creates such more medical advancements for the world. So you get that virus, it spreads like a COVID sort of thing. If we developed much better medical advancements during COVID, that would be. That would be, beneficial. That virus is the reason we created new antidotes or whatever in the world, vaccines and such, for other sort of viruses that were like it, etc. That sort of thing. That's what a virus does. And your puppy dog is just for you and some other people to be, lovey-dovey, So, I think the virus would be more important in that sense. Maybe not to you specifically, but in general, objectively, not subjectively, that virus is more important, okay? So I think complexity is also bad, which is why bringing up importance, like I did, is also kind of odd. You versus Hitler. Now, I'm assuming you were just an average Joe Schmo. So, you would say, oh, of course I'm more important than Hitler. Hitler was a terrible person. And I agree. I'm not saying he's not a terrible person. But, which is an odd thing to say. Anytime you say Hitler was a bad person, but, it sounds very odd. But besides that, Hitler indirectly caused, because of the war he created, the terrible, unfathomable war that he created, because of that, what the world, how do you shoot across the map for to see you? Oh my god. Anyway, sorry. He, indirectly caused someone named Fritz Haber. He found a new way, his process to make fertilizer for the war, because of all the other problems that everyone was having with the war. No farmers are at war, that sort of thing. So he made something called the Fritz Haber process. I'm really terrible at this. So he made a Fritz Haber process. Basically, they can estimate that about 25%, 2/5 to half of all the people who are alive today are because of that Fritz Haber process, because of all the food that it made and the jobs that were because of that, because of more people being alive, etc. Indirectly causing. Not like, oh, we made 4 billion people just because of some nice little process. It was indirectly caused by it. Now, what would have happened if it didn't exist? We don't know. But basically, 4 billion people, up to 4 billion people, are made because of that, which is really cool if you think about it. This server is so dead, but I can't switch because I'll lose where everyone else is. Basically. Also, medical advancements as well. Anesthesia, different kind of surgeries, different other sort of medical, I guess you could just say advancements, set of technologies. Oh shit, I'm dead. Nobody clutched? Nobody clutched? Oh my god, clutched. Oh shit, oh, I'm dead. Anyway. So, be it that logic, Hitler, in that way, was more important than you are. If you ask any of your family members, they're going to say otherwise. Because it's an emotional thing. And, obviously, as we know, we can't argue emotions to be objective, because emotions, are subjective. They're different for each person. Which means that they're not objective. There's other arguments, like a human life is more important because of intelligence. But, would I rather save a human baby, or would I save a dolphin? Sorry, would I rather save a human puppy that's mine, or would I rather save a dolphin? Dolphins are the second most intelligent animal as far as I'm concerned, before humans, that is. Most people would probably save their puppy dog, which again is emotional attachment. That's subjective. So really, you can't say, oh, well, intelligence matters. Basically, I'm just saying there's no one objective reason. Maybe there is an objective reason that goes with a bunch of other subjective reasons that would help. But again, that makes it's not an objective fact why one life is more important than another. Basically, I don't think there is. I'm not a vegan, obviously. I do think that what they do with animals is terrible for food, at least. But I ain't gonna tell them to stop. I think that they should maybe do it more humanely. Apparently, they use CO2 in England, or some British areas at least, to kill their animals, which they know they're dying. They can see the gas, they know they're dying. They could easily use a lot more different gases that would still kill them, but they wouldn't know about it as much, and it would be less likely, and they wouldn't be able to see it. But it's just more expensive, so it's a money thing. Wow, it's just me and that guy. That's kind of sad. I'm gonna just start doing, parkour around here. Wow, that's sad. I was here since the server started. Which is a 1v1 at this point. First, just stand in front of him. Sorry. Pardon me. Rosie? Sorry. Anyway. Basically, I think the problem with things like this is that I don't. Ooh, you're new. La boo boo. What's la boo boo? You got a little boo boo? I don't know. That's what it means. Anyway, back to the point though. Ooh. You're here and you're here? Wow, that's crazy. Ooh. Ooh. Oh. He wants, buddy. Anyway. I don't think there's ever a way that can ever be objective, because I don't think there's really any objective things. I mean, there are, but it's because we've defined them to have to be objective. Like 2 + 2 is always 4. That's something we made, so we made it objective. I don't think there's many naturally occurring. I really can't explain it. I don't know. But anyway, I just don't think there's an objective way of value over life. I don't think there's free will, and I don't think that the Bible is very easy to interpret and such. Basically, if you want to check out my channel, both channels, my main channel is Bannany. I think it's linked to this channel description. Obviously, you can subscribe to this channel, which is going to be Maxaroni. You could also subscribe to my friend's channel, Deacon. His is Decaf, D-E-C-A-F, all capitals. But you're probably not going to find it if you search it up, so I'd recommend looking up Teddy's Gone. Like Teddy, as in the name, is gone. He just made a new music video. A great one, might I add. And you could also subscribe to my friend Max's channel. Not my brother's channel, because I don't really know his again. But you can subscribe to his channel. It's Max's Creatures. It's a really good one. I think it's linked in my Roblox account, which, as you can see, is right here. Bannany YT. You know, let me subscribe. Bye bye. See you guys. Good luck. If you have any comments for me, just say them in the bottom of the video. Bye.